Different. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. This is my speech on Somali and pirates. First thing, so you think being a pirate was all rum and fun? Try coming from an area ravaged by civil war, government oppression, since Somalia's very inception. Somali's been raised an entire generation to believe that violence is not only a way of life, but it's how they actually survive. This country has been under no government. It has had no leadership, no military, no actual monetary system, no ways to actually control their e-commerce or any way since their very beginning. British actually bombed these guys almost back to oblivion, almost to the Stone Age. They've been overtaken, war ravaged, the land is poor. So basically these guys have to find ways to survive. It's not necessarily based that they want to go off and have fun and attack people. They're looking for the reasons to just actually get their daily food to survive and the way to survive in a very arid area. And I may say this stuff very flippantly. You may think, oh, they're just pirates. They're just doing what they do, but they're really not. But sure, there's nothing flippant about the way the Somalis resort to piracy in order to survive in a modern-day war-torn cesspool of government corruption and gruesome militia infighting. That's all these guys do. They're little bands, and they fight amongst each other basically for a few little scraps of food that the lack of government can even provide to them. There's no guidance. And not really a big government guy, but if you look at the fact that what the government does, it does give you some structure in order to live in. These guys don't have it. My job as your presenter today is to give you, both my audience and the YouTubers that are out there, an idea of why we actually have pirates in 2016. You would think this would have been things of yesteryear, but it's really not. Most of us have probably seen the story, Captain Phillips. There's a couple good one-liners now. I am the captain now. When these guys overtook the ship. Basically, they're in these little dingy ships, and they're overtaking the bigger ships because of the goods and the services that they may have on board that their country does not have. Any aid from other countries that are coming in are actually being picked up and stolen by these little regimes, so the people who really need it don't get it. So they resort to stealing in order to get it. And if a dog's hungry, he's going to eat eventually. It's just basically the way it is. They take these little boats, overtake the bigger boats, and just over brute force do it. There's no real laws of the land. When you talk about maritime laws, when you talk about ways that the modern seafaring people would actually handle their business, it's the wild, wild west. There are different countries that saying who's got jurisdiction, who can use the water guns, who can use no ammunition. Where are you at? You're going to have to do something. A couple of little figures that I came up with, and I thought it was pretty interesting as far as a loss of resources. There's 0.5 doctors per every 10,000 people in this country. So if you're a doctor, you're probably not going to want to go over there anyway because you're going to get shot at or you're going to get kidnapped and held to ransom because the ransom money can feed the families. It's not over the fact that they're bad people, it's the fact that they're starving because their own country is sapping all their worth out of them. You're looking at, this is a very ancient society too. They have artifacts from 9000 BC showing that from the Ottoman Empire up to the Pharaohs' Egypt, they were actually trading in gold and ivory and spices. So at one point, this was a very good environment for trade. You know, the spice trade, same thing with your Marco Polos, stuff like this area was still being utilized for this. And now, you're looking at a situation to where it's just back to war. In 1920, there's a few little tidbits. 1920 bombed them, or Britain bombed them, and they became a British protectorate. So basically, they bombed them to oblivion, and then they said, now we'll look over you. So everybody wants to fight over this area, but nobody really wants to take care of the country or the people that are actually there. Infant mortality rate in that area, looking at 850 infant deaths per 10,000 live births. So out of 10,000, 850 of these die. That's pretty bad. But there's no health care, there's no ways to do any preterm testing. So basically, these women are just doing what they have to do to survive. Due to the lack of a central government and political instability, there's no current official currency. Used to, they had a thing called a shilling, but now each individual sect has their own currency. So if you owned a grocery store, you may produce your own currency for your area. And then, but you couldn't take that to another area and utilize it because to them it doesn't mean the thing has no value. So what they've decided to do is the pirates would actually jump the ships and take the goods, the products, or take people hostage and use those guys in order to get something valuable in order to trade for food, housing, shelter, things like that. this is probably a reason why they take over the ships. There's a main shipping lane coming through that side of Africa, so they're looking for important things, whether it be fuel, food, clothes, ammunition, ammo, anything, or just actual people. We're going to hold you hostage long enough to get something out of you. Let me see. A couple of things, and we'll kind of wrap up a few things here. In order to kind of centralize the reasonings that this particular country has a problem is poverty. There's no central currency. There's no way for one aspect of one area of the country to actually have commerce with another because there's no common currency, because the government basically doesn't exist. War, civil or undeclared, it doesn't matter. They're constantly fighting with each other over the minimal amount of assets that they actually have. Lack of stable federal government went through that. Poor land. This is the most arid region. They get 25 inches of rain a year. So they really can't grow anything. They do have some livestock that they handle up in mountains, and they do have some outlying areas, but the majority of the country is kind of poor. It's not much to it. So that's pretty much the end of Somalia. That's where I'm at. I learned a lot. I really thought this was going to be cool. We're having a speech on pirates. I thought it was going to be fun, but I learned a lot about why they exist, and not just the fact that they're a bunch of drunks and they want to go around and have a good time. They're actually doing over existence. Thank you.